Good day, everyone. This video lecture talks about the topics under week 7. Since we're done discussing the carbohydrates and lipids, now we will be moving on to the last two biomolecules, which are proteins and nucleic acids. So when we say proteins, they are considered to be a natural polymers. And when we say polymers, these are it contains a lot of number of units of monomer. And the monomer, are considered to be the building blocks of proteins, is what we call the amino acids. So when we say amino acids, it is considered to be an organic compound that contains your amino group, which is its chemical formula is NH2, and carboxylic group or carboxylic acid, which is which its chemical formula is COOH group, which are also bonded with a carbon atom as shown in this structure. Okay, so as you can see, this is the amino group, which is the NH2, and then this is also your carboxylic group, wherein as you can see the carbon double bond with oxygen and single bond with oxygen and hydrogen. Okay, and at the middle, these are your alkyl group or the side chain group. So there are actually 500 amino acids in nature, but only 20 amino acids are identified, which considered to be the makeup proteins of our body. And these 20 amino acids can be classified into two: essential amino acids and non-essential amino acids. So when we say essential amino acids, these are the amino acids wherein they cannot be synthesized or cannot be made by our body, which means we need to obtain them from the foods or from the diet, okay, from the foods that we eat. And when we say non-essential amino acids, okay, it is considered to be non-essential because our body can produce or can naturally produce these particular amino acids. However, it doesn't mean that the word is non-essential, meaning these amino acids are no longer important. It only denotes that our body can produce that particular amino acids and we don't need to obtain it from the food we eat because they are already naturally produced by our body. Now, there are 9 essential amino acids and 11 non-essential amino acids. Okay, and under essential amino acids, we have your tryptophan, phenylalanine, your methionine, leucine, valine, your threonine, histidine, lysine, and isoleucine. And under non-essential, as you can see, it composed of 11 amino acids, starting with tyrosine up to asparagine. Okay, and below are the examples of foods were considered to be rich with essential amino acids, such as your broccoli, your nuts, your nut butters, and your oatmeal, and many more. Okay, just like the the disaccharide, in order for us to combine two monomer, okay, it uses the what we call dehydration reaction, similar or also with the amino acids. In order for us to link two monomer of amino acid, it uses the what we call dehydration reaction. So when we say dehydration reaction, there is a loss of water. As you can see, under this reaction, this is our first amino acid and this is our second amino acid. In order for us to link them together and form a polymer of proteins, the OH group under the first monomer here and also the hydrogen under the second monomer will be removed, and that is the loss of water during reaction. And after that, the carbon and then the nitrogen will be linked together, okay, to form a what we call peptide bond. That is the one, or that particular bond is the one that is responsible linking the two monomer of amino acids. And of course, these are already the product. The combined monomer and the water that was lost during this reaction. Now, why proteins are considered to be important in the human body? Because they serve different functions. They serve different role in the human body. First is it serves as a storage of nutrients. And before that, there are 7 types of proteins. We have your storage, your transport, your structural, your motile, your enzymatic, regulatory, and protective. So under storage, the function of storage proteins, they store nutrients, okay, for future purposes of our body. Next, the transport. So under transport proteins, they are responsible in transporting substances between cells or across cells, or substances inside and outside, the movement of substances inside and outside the cell. Some example of transport proteins are your channel and carrier proteins, which are responsible in delivering or transporting substances inside and outside the cell. And some example also is the hemoglobin. When we say hemoglobin, that is the red blood cells. That is our red blood cells. They are responsible in the oxygen that we are inhaling, and they are transporting it to the different parts rather of our body. Okay? Next is your structural. The purpose of structural is it supports and give protection of the cells. And some example is the collagen. It gives connective tissues strength and flexibility. Next, we have your motile, and that is for movement. Okay, some example is your actin and myosin. Your actin and myosins are the filaments of the muscles, and they are the responsible in the contraction and of course expansion and contraction of our muscle in the body. So that is under motile proteins. Next, we also have your enzymatic. When we say enzymes, they are the catalysts of reaction. And when we say catalysts of reaction, they speed up, they help or they speed up the chemical reactions that are happening in our body. Some example is your glucosidase. Okay, so as long as there is a suffix ending with ase, they are enzymes. Okay, usually they are considered to be enzyme, and enzyme are made up of proteins. So under here, your glucosidase, the function of this one is it helps to digest very large molecules in the body to be broken up into pieces. Okay, next we also have your regulatory. So this is for the coordination and control of physiological processes. Example is the insulin. Okay, the function of insulin, it stabilize, no, it stabilize the level of the blood sugar in the body. Because if you have a high sugar in your blood, that means you have very little insulin. Okay. Next, we also have the protective protein. One of the last type of protein is your protective. It serves for protection. Okay, so its function is it defends us from foreign bodies or from foreign matter in the body, and those are the antibodies. Antibodies are considered to be the soldiers of the body, because they are the one that detects and the one that attack or kill these threatening pathogenic viruses and bacteria that makes us sick. Okay, so these are the reason why proteins are considered to be important. Next, we will now proceed to the different levels of protein structure. So these are the steps of how protein works or how protein achieve its structure. And there are four levels of protein structure, starting with primary structure. When we say primary structure, under this one, this is the first step of how protein achieves its structure. First is the bonding of different amino acids. So the individual circle that you can see in the picture are the monomer of proteins, and they are being bonded by the peptide bond. So primary structure refers to the linear sequencing of amino acids in a polypeptide chain. So there is no branching of amino acids, only linear in shape under this level. Okay? And after that, the finished product of primary structure are very needed for the next step, which means primary structure is the precursor or prerequisite in the formation of secondary, tertiary, and the quaternary structure of proteins. So for the next level is your secondary structure. Under this level, it gives the shape of protein. It can be either alpha helix structure or beta pleated sheets. So when we say alpha helix, as you can see in the picture, it looks like a single helix RNA, but this is not an RNA. So uh, it looks like it is being twisted or being coiled. So that is alpha helix from the word helix. And next shape is your beta pleated. And the difference between the difference of beta pleated from alpha helix is that under beta, okay, it looks like they are being folded. They are considered to be a folded sheets. So these are the two shapes of protein structure under secondary level. So under secondary level, it gives the shape, or it's starting to indicate the shape of protein molecule, which can only be alpha helix or beta pleated sheets. And after that, the next level will be the tertiary structure. So after identifying the shapes of proteins under secondary structure, they will start to be folded and being bended, forming a what we call unit of polypeptide chain, or one unit of polypeptide chain. And the last one will be the quaternary structure. This will be the finished product of proteins, which is the three-dimensional structure of proteins. So under this one, there are different formation of protein molecules. So which means they can be fibrous protein or globular protein, and can also be a conjugated proteins. So to summarize the different levels of protein structure, starting with primary structure, your primary structure are the linear long chain of amino acid. So they are just linear. After that, for the secondary structure, it identifies the shape of these long chain of amino acids. So they can be alpha helix or beta pleated sheets. Now for the tertiary structures, they start to be folded as one polypeptide chain. And after that, for the quaternary structure, this will be the collected units of polypeptide chain made from tertiary structure, which are the assembled subunits, and of course, it will be the finished product of protein structure. And their formation can be fibrous, conjugated, or globular proteins. We will now proceed to the last biomolecules, which is the nucleic acids. So what is nucleic acid? Nucleic acids are biomolecules essential to the transmission of hereditary information and to the manufacture of proteins in cells. So they play a role in the transmission of the traits from one parent to offspring, because when we say nucleic acids, that is one part or one component of our DNA. Okay, the one that stores the gene, the traits we have. Okay, so when we say nucleic acid, they are considered to be long chain-like molecules. And since they are very long chain, that is very evident why they have very large molecular masses. So if under protein, if the monomer of protein is amino acid, the monomer of nucleic acids are your nucleotides. And there are three parts of nucleotides. We have your nitrogenous base. And your nitrogenous base is classified into two. They are purines and pyrimidines. Okay? And these are the needed complementary base pair for the formation of DNA. So under purines, we have your adenine and guanine. And for pyrimidines, we have your cytosine, thymine, and uracil. And for the next part of nucleotides, we have your 5-carbon sugar. And there are only 2 sugar present in nucleic acids. They can be deoxyribose for DNA and ribose for RNA. And the last part is your phosphate group. To show the structure or to show the parts of nucleic acids, we have this picture. So this is the phosphate group, which is your PO4. This is also the sugar component, which can be ribose or deoxyribose. And for your nitrogenous bases, okay, or nitrogenous base, which can be adenine, guanine, cytosine, thymine, uracil, or thymine. So how do we pair up these complementary bases? So under DNA, okay, your adenine can only be paired up with thymine, and your cytosine can only be paired up with guanine. So that is only the rule. Your adenine can never be paired with guanine or cytosine, only with thymine. And for your RNA, so under DNA, we only have 4 base. We have your adenine, your thymine, your cytosine, and guanine. And for your RNA, the thymine is changed with uracil. So we only have your A, U, C, and G. So those are the base present under RNA. The thymine is the one that is being changed. So instead of adenine to be paired with thymine, under RNA, the adenine will be paired with uracil. And the same, similarly with our DNA, your cytosine is always paired up with guanine under RNA. So that is the rule for this part. So there are 2 types of nucleic acids. They can be deoxyribonucleic acid or DNA, or ribonucleic acid, or abbreviated as RNA. So these are the difference between the two. The functions of DNA is a repository of genetic information. It stores the genetic information, the traits that will be manifested in our physical appearance. And for your RNA, they are involved in the protein synthesis, specifically the mRNA. When we say mRNA, that is the messenger RNA. They are the one that carries the instruction from the DNA in order for them to correctly sequence the amino acids to be made under protein synthesis. And in terms of structure, your DNA is double helix. Okay, it looks like this. They are being coiled like that. However, for your RNA, usually they are just single strands or single helix. Okay? And for the bases, it was discussed in previous slide. Under DNA, we only have your cytosine, thymine, adenine, and guanine. For your RNA, we have your cytosine, uracil, adenine, and guanine. And the thymine, as you can see, the thymine is being replaced by uracil. So to show the picture of this one, that is the structure of RNA and the DNA. The uracil is present in RNA only, and the thymine is present under DNA only. And that's the end for the two last parts of biomolecules, and I hope you've learned a lot. Thank you. Thanks for listening, and goodbye.